is ripping.
My tummy hurts. Pretty good, right now.
Isn't it beautiful? Enhance. 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 This is the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen. I mean, just look at that. Just look at that action. And even after hours, up another $3. This is just beautiful. Good evening, guys. Nick with Off the Chart Trading. I'll be doing the daily recap for, obviously, today, which is Tuesday the 16th. My phone is telling me. Hopefully, you guys had a great day. This isn't going to be surprising for anybody who's obviously followed us in the Facebook group or is in Slack or a member to the site, but I've been kind of, pounding the table on Lucid for, ever since going back to the original rumors. Back over here, we played it a little bit. This is all hype, getting it up to almost $65 and stuff. Funny enough, we had leaps over here, got out near the highs around 62, 63, and then have been trading it and buying shares and averaging down since. So to have an average in the 19 range and it up this much is pretty nice, I think. Is it trade? I mean, look at that. It's just crazy. Today alone, up $26,000 and counting, and then up just enough to buy the car. The base model, of course. So pretty cool there. Patience pays. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt and spell it P-A-Y, instead of the regular patience. It's videoed now, so you can't steal that idea. It's copyrighted. But yeah, this is definitely one that I've liked for a long time. I mean, look at that, just sideways action, mid-20s, the teens, and then up, and then really pounding the table again when it dropped on 9-1's lows. If you remember to the site, you already knew days, if not weeks in advance, that this was the day to look at Lucid for potential selling because of that first lockup period. I mentioned it, 7:20 in the morning, I noticed that it was selling off. It was in the 17s and dropping. Wrote a thing on Facebook a little after that, basically saying that Lucid's definitely a buy. I'm buying more here. It was in the 16s and, definitely a long, hold. And look where it's come since then, since those 9-1 lows. We're talking, a little over 2 months there, 2.5 months, and just straight up. Like I said, my average is in the 19s, 1987, 1989, something like that. I know it was near my birthday. I'm born in 88, so I think it was 89. So I'm going to keep my 2,000 shares. I initially had 2,700, but I've been legging out into this strength. But this is just crazy. Like I said, almost another $3 after hours here. So we'll just have to see. I was telling members if this is a trade in the sense of you're buying it at 20 and, you didn't really have a long-term idea and the stock's up for you, like almost coming up on 200%, then it's kind of silly not to sell into this strength. For those that, aren't familiar with the way I view stuff, I talked about this for this weekly squeeze. My little white buy arrow, 821.34 cross, a nice mix showing momentum shifting higher here. And once it fired long, it's just been amazing. But gave everyone weeks notice that there was something brewing potentially to, you don't know until it fires, but nice move as far as that's concerned. So just wanted to start there because it is my biggest holding. I'm a huge fan of the company. Like the CEO, like the management team, love the car. They're beating in all the major, horsepower this and fast charging and car of the year and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to have conviction, especially through all of this. When this was all hype. I don't really consider, I wish it kind of started, I think it was around the first week of July where it, either the end of July or early July when it actually became Lucid. And kind of want to look at the chart from there on because this is all hype. Then, the actual pipe agreement came out, the valuation, how many shares, and it just dropped and bled out. And I started buying when it dropped under 30. I was like 28.75, I think, is when I first started buying shares. But look, it's tough. You think you have a good buy-in when you see where it's been. You see the high at $65 and you're buying it at 28. You think it's a steal. And then what happens? It just keeps dropping. And you know what I was doing as it was dropping? I was buying. And this might sound like a crazy idea, but if you find a stock you like and you have conviction and there's multiple points of reference that you can pull from, almost like you're going to court and defending your position, And you can say, no, I like the CEO, I like the management team, I like that Saudi has a lot of money, and they own 60% of it. They never lose when it comes to these types of things. The car is beautiful, EV's the future, and you can just keep going and going. Then why wouldn't you be buying into that drop? You know, people love buying this. They see this, and I can see the very similar pattern unfolding now. So I'm pretty sure there will be a drop. It's not, you know, if, it's when. But people care about it now. No one really cared when I was talking about it almost every single day through here, saying this is a good one to buy up, you know, buy up, hold long term, 5-10 years. This could be, I hate that, you know, cliche next Tesla, but I have the same, you know, feeling I did about Tesla when I called that 10 years ago when it was at $22 a share pre-split. And no one, oh, EVs aren't going to be the future. They're going to fail, blah, 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 blah. No one knows what Tesla is. And then we fast forward today and it's a household name. And I don't know where it left off today. I'm just going to say either round up or round down a little bit and say it's about $1 trillion company. So a lot's happened in 10 years. So where can this stock be in 10 years? I'd be happy if it was half of what Tesla is, or even 25% of what Tesla is. So it doesn't have to necessarily go up thousands of percent to be a big winner. But I was on the call. I mean, there wasn't anything too surprising on it, but it was overall good. Nothing necessarily bad. I'd be curious to see how reservations are on it over the last, I guess, about 6 weeks, because everything kind of ended on the end of September, and the show and party didn't really start till halfway through October. So I'd be curious to see how many reservations and everything they have now, and it just seems to be a pile-in effect with these names. I mean, you look at Rivian, it's the same thing, and people ask me, oh, should I be buying it at 100, 120? And I honestly said no. And if I said no over here or over here, do you think I'm going to say, yeah, green light, buy it at 180? This will pull back. Obviously, when and where and how much, it's, you know, to be determined. But this one will definitely pull back, and I think there'll be a better buying opportunity. I wouldn't be shocked once the euphoria and all the hype, you know, dies out, that it does potentially drop below this $95 target, because this valuation is just getting crazy, you know, when it compares to them. But I will say the faster and the higher Rivian goes, the better it is for Lucid, because the argument goes out the window when you start talking about valuation with this. So this one's been crazy. If you've traded, I think options just started. Yeah, I think it was either today or yesterday. Options just started with this one. So probably, I honestly haven't looked at it, and they're probably only monthlies right now, but it's volatile. Look at the implied volatility, 210%. You know, for this week, it's still expected to move plus or minus almost $29. So I'm not going to play this either way. Like I said, I'm in Lucid, and that's the horse I'm betting on. Not that Rivian won't do well, but I'm just showing you the buying and how crazy it's been. And I'm really surprised. I mean, I've been conservative with these ideas, but I just try to envision where I think we as a society, a race, whatever you want to call it, will be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You know, just think of smartphones, you know, how far they've come in the last 10 years, and, you know, other technologies. So that's kind of where I invest and where I focus on for longer term ideas, because personally, I don't want to say I'm an investor, but I am slowly putting money to work in names and technology that I think will be big. Think of me as a mini Kathy Wood, because a lot of the stocks she likes, I like as well for the same reasons. And it's just following through and holding it, because I'm sick of saying, oh yeah, I bought AMD at $2, you know, thinking chips for the future, and NVIDIA at $11. I mean, just cross-reference how those stocks have done over the last 10 years. So what I'm doing now is trying to find stocks that I have the same type of idea. You know, oh, I could see this being the future, or this being big over the next 5 or 10 years, and putting money to it. And just seeing how, you know, throwing money at the wall and see if it sticks. Because you only need one NVIDIA to literally make your entire account and a life savings. Like my smaller account, when I first started getting into this stuff almost 10 years ago, that $10,000 account would be worth probably almost $1 million if I held it. And that's all hindsight, but my point is the same ideas that I had then have not changed as far as where I could see potential stocks go. Mainly not so much with their financials and this and that. It's just the idea of, you know, this company is working on this, and I think that could be the future. And sure enough, a lot of those picks did end up working out. So I'm looking for similar ones. You know, some that come to mind that have been beat up, you know, consider this a freebie, is DM. desktop metals. I think 3D printing is going to be the future, whether it's this decade or next, 2030 and above, or into this decade. They just had earnings. Honestly, for what I look for, I think they did pretty good. I mean, when you do that and you see that they were estimated to lose 7 cents and they lose 26, it doesn't look that great. But when they had almost 1,000% increase in revenue from last year, that's stuff that I pay attention to, especially when I'm bargain shopping. I mean, look at this chart. Once again, that euphoria, everything was at the end of this time last year is kind of what started it off, and everything that was growth related just shot up. And I talked about a bubble bursting around this time. Honestly, you want to play a fun game? Think of any growth name and look at the chart. And I would be incredibly surprised if its high for this whole year wasn't from the beginning of the year to, we'll say, March. So the first quarter of the year. Cross-reference that, because I can think of almost all my favorite names capped out around these, prices that are just absurd for valuation and, multiples and all that kind of stuff, which I honestly don't focus on too much. But a stock going from $10 to 35 with no report or anything is kind of like, it's just retail hype, high frequency trading, riding it up and so forth. And look what it did. It's bled out. So this is another one I like. $35 at the high, basically. And when did I decide to start buying this? Right around here at like 15, thinking that this was a good price because I'm getting it more than half off from the highs. And what does it continue to do? So today I just got my average down to $9.99. So I can actually say my average is under $10 by a penny. And this is one I plan on holding. I have 2,500 shares. I'm down a decent amount on this one too. I mean, I'll show you the winner. I'll show you the loser. Today, down 2,300. Overall, down $7,800 on this. I have 2,500 shares. So it's not great, but the same thing with Lucid. I mean, at one point on September's first lows, I was down over 12 grand in the name. And now you just saw them up like, what, 75,000 or who knows what it's probably trading at as I'm speaking now. It's probably at $58, $59 or whatever it keeps going. So it only takes a day or two or a week or whatever the case may be to undo all of this, where you just, you have to be patient with a lot of these names, and you don't want to get shaken out based off of a Discord article or 5 people mentioned it on Twitter or CNBC told you that it was a dud. You have to have reasons for liking the names. Like I said, this stock literally hit its all-time low today. And I was buying. I wasn't selling into that weakness. I was buying it because nothing has changed fundamentally with this company since I started buying it 6-7 months ago. They've acquired X1, they've acquired some other big names, all synergy with the 3D printing, and I think they're going to be a juggernaut going into the next couple of years. And I have a feeling, mark this video, that you'll look back in a couple of years and be like, wow, why didn't I buy DM at $6 and change? That AMD at $2, the Nvidia at $11, the Tesla at $22, and so forth. So there's your freebie for the night is, if you have a longer term, account for investments, 401s, whatever the case may be, I would recommend, personally, I'm not a financial advisor, but I would recommend looking at this company. I think it's valued at about $2 billion now. So if that matters to you, I don't think it's too crazy. I think the IPs they own and all the other companies, I mean, I think they're worth more than $2 billion, even with these numbers as of right now. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked. It might trade sideways. It might go a little lower, but once again, using those numbers, if this becomes a $50 or $60 stock in 5 years, do you really care if you bought it at $7 or $10 or $8? No, you're still going to be up quite a lot. So if you have a longer swing mentality, buying some leaps, or you have that, hey, I like this company or I like this idea, I'm going to throw X amount of money at this and I'm going to check it in 5 years, I think DM and some of these other ones like Butterfly is another one that I'm down a little bit. I got about 1,000 shares of Butterfly, and it's kind of the same concept that, it shot up once again. That game I was talking about, you can't really see past that, but February, look at that. Middle and end of February seems to be where the bubble bursts in growth. Almost $30. I like to round up sometimes just to make it a point. But I started buying this at 15 or 16 as well, thinking I was getting half off. I like the technology. I mean, their device was in the what is it, Inspiration 4, the SpaceX flight. They were up there and they had a butterfly. They were showing it off. Like a couple days before that, you had the Apple event and they were showing the strength of the iPad. And on the display and showing the device, they had a butterfly. So I mean, it's not like it's not a well-known name in that sense, but their technology is being shown by some of the biggest companies in the world. So I like it, and nothing has changed from buying it over here at like 15 or $14. My average, I think, is like $14 and I have 1,000 shares. And yeah, it sucks that it dropped, but their earnings actually, if I'm not mistaken, as far as they actually beat. Look, they were supposed to lose 25 cents, and they only lost 7. And there were some other numbers that I think they missed on sales or something by a little bit, but it's still a solid name. And at $6.75, $7. I mean, it had a nice day today. It went up $1. These are names that I think if you hold long term, I like to think that I'm personally, if you guys are members of the site, you can see all my long ideas. I'm in about 60 or 70 stocks. I don't over leverage. Most of these names, I only have 1 to 3% of my account in each of them. So I'm not really doing anything too crazy when it comes to it. It's not all or nothing DM or Butterfly or Lucid. Some of these are some of my bigger positions, but still, on average, I might have X amount in each of these names, because in my head, I only need 10% of them to do well over the next 5 or 10 years to offset the ones that might not. So I don't know which stock is going to be the stock, the Tesla, the Amazon, the Netflix, Apple, or whatever. I don't know. I can have an idea of the sector, and I'm in a couple different stocks in 3D printing. It's not just EM, Market Forge, or I always say Market, but it's Market Forge. Right? Jeez, Market always confuses me. Now I need to check. Yeah, Mark Forge. Thank you. But yeah, this one was good too. Off of its lows at $6. Had earnings. I think they beat. Yeah, so they actually had a good quarter, and it's slowly drifting up at $7. Who cares if you bought the lows at $5.90 or $6 if this is a $50, $60 stock in a couple of years? So that's another 3D one. There's a few I'm in, VLD and NDM, Nano Dimensions and stuff, and most of them are on sale. So if you have a stronger outlook, into next year, into 2023, 2024, and so forth, I think there's a lot of these names that if you have a longer, you're not I just bought it 2 days ago, why am I not up 500%? If you're not a get rich quick crew type of person, I think you'll appreciate buying some of these at these prices and holding them. Once again, just personally what I've done with my money, you guys can make that up, decision for yourself. But I figured we'd start there just to check mainly, like I said, Lucid, my top holding, and it's rewarding to see it actually, I would have been fine sitting on it, for another 5 years before it actually did anything. So it's refreshing that it's starting to move now. What can we take a look at? Take a look at the internal screen real quick. Today was interesting, broadly speaking, because the overall market, we got really close to all-time highs. And what was interesting is the cumulative tick was just dropping most of the day, and the VIX was, I call it bleeding out, but it did pick up towards the end of the day. And it was just weird, because normally the cumulative tick, I could tell you how a day would work just by using this indicator right here. And if that's all I looked at today, I would have told you today the market was probably red. But most things actually ended up finishing up near the highs of the day. Look at the NQ. Some relative strength and just sideways action. Just did fairly well today. Dow got a little weak towards the end of the day. Russell surprised me because it looked fairly weak the first hour or so of the day and then kind of rebounded with everything else. But this has kind of got me, I don't want to say scratching my head, a divergence, whatever word you want to use. And I would definitely carry this into tomorrow, that the breadth ratios for the most part were flat or red below the zero line. Look at the advanced declines basically going out almost at the lows. The S&P did go out at the lows. Normally when I see this type of action where price and overall futures, index, whatever you look at, the SPY, the ES, SPX, it's all, it's all the same in that sense. If you see that slowly going higher, but the internals are flat to down, that's a red flag. There's, I use the analogy that it's a car going up a mountain with almost no gas, like you're on empty. You don't know exactly the moment when you'll end up running out of gas, but you have that feeling that it's probably going to happen sooner than later. So I'm not calling for a massive pullback or anything. I'm just saying that was interesting, alarming, whatever, nothing too crazy. I didn't get out of any positions because of it, but I did find that weird. And normally when I see these types of divergence and something, the tools I use are telling me one thing and then price is doing another, it's just something to focus on. Doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world or anything crazy like that, but it is definitely something noteworthy to carry into tomorrow. So it's also expiration week, so we'll just have to see. Maybe we just trade sideways for the rest of the week and then we end up looking at the following week to see how price reacts. But we're going into the holidays and stuff, so we'll just have to see. Dollar, I've talked about that going up. Normally not good for our equity markets, but that might be something that offsets inflation fears. So it might actually not necessarily be a bad thing. Put calls been opening pretty low and slowly climbing. So that's another thing that you want to pay attention to, that a lot of people are bullish this market. And when you can use a lot of these tools, I call this my internal screen. There is webinars on it on our site. I go over each thing as far as each of my screens, how I view this stuff. And this is honestly what changed my trading for the better. The consistency is to be able to see the market other than the ES finished up 25 points today. Like, that's okay, cool. We were higher. But what happened? I use market profile. How is the structure of the market? What is the internals? What's under the hood telling me? And it's combining all of these different work, spaces to come up with an idea of what is going on. You don't want to just be one dimensional. You don't want to be like, oh, the ES is down 20 points, so today was a bad day. Maybe some of the top holdings had bad news. Maybe Apple dropped $7 because of a reason, but the rest of the market was going up. You know what I mean? So you never want to base it just off of one thing. And I think a screen like this, and this basically a mirror image, a copy of what you see, we also offer on the site for free. We don't charge people for indicators. Anything we've come up with or gone for other places, we share for free. Because like I said, I don't want to nickel and dime people. There's a market for it, and I guarantee it, but that's not how we do it at Off the Chart Trading. I guess we can... Actually, there was one other thing I wanted to show that, and there's a beauty in being early. I've been in GGPI, which is going to be Polestar, like over here. I think it was actually right here the day that it was announced, probably 7-8, just judging by the volume. I think I got in at like 10:20 or 10:30, and I've been holding my share since. So I'm just sitting pretty, waiting, and then boom, look what happens. So when you get in over here, you're not, is it too late to get in? What do I do? No, you're early. And it's fine being early and sitting through all this and just be comfortable that you know what you own, you're happy with it, you like the price you bought it, and you just sit and then boom, you're up 50-60% in like 2-3 days. So I haven't sold any shares. As far as the world of valuations go, this is only worth, like, at this price, like 1.25 billion. When Lucid's worth like 80 billion, you got freaking Rivian probably worth 140 or whatever it is now, something absurd. So this stock could literally double or triple and still be relatively cheap versus the other ones. And not to mention versus Lucid. I don't want to downplay my number one rock star, but Lucid and Rivian combined, these guys have put out almost 30,000 cars this year. So as far as production and making cars, and actually they're ahead of the game, and their price is relatively inexpensive. I think the merger is next year, early Q1 of next year is when this one's supposed to. But this is another one, like I said, I don't have to get in the hype train. Oh man, we missed it. No, I've been in for months. It's so nice to be positioned and people talking about it, and you're like, yeah, I've been in that one. I don't need CNBC ticker alert on the bottom of the screen to tell me about this stock. I've been in it for 4 months. So that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's nice to get in and just be patient. So when this move happens, the ball's in your court. You're not buying at 1641, wondering if it's going to go to 20 or 40 or whatever. You're buying in all the way over here and sitting pretty. So that's just something to think about. We'll end it on profile. I mean, today was actually pretty good. Initial strength, I mean, right out of the gate. Let me refresh this every time I exit and come back in on the day. I feel like I need to do this. Where are you? Request tick data. I'm just curious to see how much volume was at the lows. Not probably that much. Yeah, 87 contracts on the low. So I'm virtually nothing. So we opened up that green circle. We dropped like 2 or 3 ticks, and then it was just off to the races. And then we balanced all the way up here. Once again, almost like that P formation. You can kind of see it builds out. You have the most volume right there. You got the most time. So volume and time were spent. The red is the 30% top volume, meaning where the majority of it was. And it's all the upper range of the profile. So I would consider today a bullish day overall. Sometimes that matches price, sometimes it doesn't, because sometimes you'll see a drop towards the end of the day, but the profile itself still looks really good. So structurally speaking, today was pretty strong. I mean, we came pretty close to almost all-time highs. Yeah, I mean, a stone's throw away. Maybe we balance tomorrow and then shoot for all-time highs. Maybe go to 47.20 or something along those lines. 47.25, go a little higher, and then go out. Or because it is an expiration, maybe we pin. I mean, we're currently at 46.98 after hours here. So maybe we finish the week around 4,700. If there is going to be pinning plays or anything where it's balanced, it's traditionally going to be during an expiration day. You won't see crazy swings one way or the other leading up to an expiration. typically speaking. Obviously, you want to assume anything can happen, but traditionally speaking, it's normally fairly quiet leading into, you know, that Wednesday, Thursday, and specifically Friday. But obviously in the room, whatever the market throws at us, we'll trade. But anyway, I mean, overall pretty solid, balancing within this now pretty tight range after hours here. So we'll just have to see how we open. I wouldn't be shocked if we open in between volume area, which is that yellow part. So somewhere in here. If you guys watched last week's video, literally nail in the head when it came to how the profile was going to react and the levels I gave in the market, and even down to the timing towards the end of the day. Like, I wouldn't be shocked around 3:30 volume picks up, and then sure enough plus 600 ticks. So it was kind of eerie last week with predicting you know, the market flow and just, you know, almost playing it. It's like watching a football game that you've never watched before, but you're like a play or two ahead. That was kind of how it was in the room the other day with the profile and just giving levels and stuff. So it was pretty awesome. But anyway, hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully you got some ticker ideas, like I said. And like I said, if you want to check us out, offthecharttrading.com. We also have the Facebook group. I will add that in the description if you guys want to check us out there. And then also we do have Slack. Some of the rooms are free, so by all means you can join us there. Anyway, on that, I'm going to end the recording. You guys have a wonderful night, and as always, hopefully it's been helpful. Take care.